you first, and then I'm going to go through the prompts with you. So it's chapter 10. And again, it's a persuasive message. And all of these are going to be using the indirect pattern. All right. So you're going to be building up, right, to the persuasive request. So you got 4 choices from the activities this month, and you can just read the chapter activities. I've got them posted right there in Canvas for you. Okay. You don't need to go in and pull them up out of your textbook. All right. In fact, under this week's module, it just says prompts, chapter 10. So I want you to select one of these. So the 10.9, it says persuasive request, write me a letter of recommendation. The case here is you're going to be asking one of your instructors to write you a letter of recommendation. And I think the reason why this one's important is, well, one, you might actually have to do it. But 2, the other thing I think that happens sometimes is often when people contact me about these things, one of the things they'll do is they kind of make it all about themselves. They need the letter, and usually within 2 or 3 days. They need the letter, all right? So you want to instead apply the pattern here, and I'll talk more about that in just a minute. Persuasive organizational message flowing upward, no free fruit. So in this case, you work for a hotel chain that used to provide a fruit basket in the hotel lobby for everybody to come and grab fruit and whatnot. And your company wants to eliminate that to save money. And you're going to try and dissuade them from doing that. All right. 1021 says a sales letter, Pitaya selling a superfruit. So in this particular situation, a lot of fruit in this one this week. We're getting close to summer, right? Selling a superfruit. So here you represent a company who sells the pitaya, which I think is also called dragon fruit. And you're trying to get juice bars to carry it, to add this to their array of products that they already carry in there. Okay. And so you need to persuade them to do that. Finally, 10.23, it just says promoting products and services. This could be any product or service, right? It could be something of your own, or, if you wanted to set up something fictitiously. I mean, this one's a little more wide open. All right. So let me go ahead and I'm going to read through these a little bit, just to give you some more details. So please write me a letter of recommendation. And it says, as a student, you'll need recommendation letters to find a job, apply for a scholarship, or enter graduate school, or undergraduate in some cases. Naturally, you will consider asking one or several of your college instructors. You talk to a senior, to find out how to get a busy professor to write you an effective letter. Your friend Paul has some basic advice for you. Only ask instructors who've had the opportunity to observe your performance and who may still remember you fondly. I think people know that, right? You're only going to ask people where, you probably did a good job in their class and they might have actually known you. I doubt you're going to be hitting up an instructor, who gave you a C. 2 to 5 years after you attended a course of 20 to 40 students, your teachers may not recall you at all. Second, only contact professors who can sing your praises. If your grades were lackluster, don't expect a glowing endorsement. And some teachers may flatly refuse to write a recommendation they can't make wholeheartedly. So some of the things that you want to do here, first of all, you're going to want to use that format. So usually it's a great idea to open up by expressing some kind of compliment, talk about how much you enjoyed their class or something along those lines. I mean, people love to hear that stuff, right? And when it says here, it says, if possible, first make the request in person. They're more likely to remember you, et cetera, et cetera. But I know we live in a little different world right now. And I think a lot of people won't do that. So one of the things is you may want to help your professor recall your performance. So it says have a copy of the job description, scholarship information, et cetera, ready, a resume, an email, these documents, et cetera, et cetera. I can tell you this because I do these. I think most of them I'm done with now. I think most of the deadlines have passed for people applying for schools. But one of the things is I always ask for additional information from the student. I'm like, send me a copy of her resume. I don't need someone's transcript. I can usually go in online and look up and see what kind of grade you got in my class. But I always ask somebody for a copy of a resume. It gives me a little bit of better idea of their entire background and not just academic. And I like to include, because I'm a business instructor and chances are you're applying to a business program or a business scholarship, I like to kind of tie those two worlds together, right? So in addition to being an outstanding student, Zachary also worked full-time at a such and such, that kind of thing. So it just gives me a little bit more information that way. Okay. Confirm any email agreement by email promptly and set a firm, reasonable deadline for the letter. That's usually one. And sometimes people wait till the last minute. And that's tough. That's putting someone in, that's just going to build more resistance, right? So you definitely want to give someone plenty of leeway. On the other hand, if you give your instructor too much time, he or she may forget. Yeah, that's one thing I would always say is, when is this due? When do you need this? Because sometimes that's left a little vague. I'm sure, again, because sometimes it's very soon. I know I got a request a couple of weeks ago from a student, and I think I got it on a Thursday or Friday, and I didn't address it over the weekend. And Monday, I emailed the student back and said, can you give me a little more information about this? And it was kind of funny. He said, oh, the deadline's already passed. And I was like, you didn't give me very much time there to begin with. But anyway, so one of the things I would do is, in addition to the letter, I would say something like, I've also enclosed a copy of my resume, transcripts, so you get a better idea of my background. And then another thing that sometimes is really helpful is sometimes writing out some bullet points or items about, characteristics that you have. I know a real common tactic, I think it still exists, but some instructors, out of probably not knowing you real well and also maybe just being lazy, I know there's definitely instructors out there who would say, why don't you go ahead and draft a letter for me? And then I'll add in some things and make some changes, okay? But anything you can do to make it easier for them, right? So they don't have to come back and keep asking you for things to help you write the letter. So it just says, it could be for a job application, grant, scholarship, or graduate school application, okay? 10.17, message flowing upward, no free fruit. And let me just go ahead and read it to you. After seeking out efficiencies, Omni Hotels look for ways to slice expenses. Omni operates 43 luxury hotels and resorts and leading business gateways and leisure destinations across North America. From exceptional golf and tennis spot. Okay, so they have awesome resorts. Okay. Omni Hotels ranks at the top in highest guest satisfaction among upscale hotel chains, according to J.D. Power. One signature amenity it has offered for years is a bowl of free apples in the lobbies. However, providing apples costs hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. They must cut costs somewhere, and our executives are debating whether to cut out the apples to save money with minimal impact on guests. Now, I haven't stayed at one in quite a while, but I know from a previous life when I did travel for work a lot, there was one in downtown San Francisco, and actually, I never got to stay at, my boss always stayed there and I had to stay at the cheaper hotel. But I know when I'd walk over there in the morning to pick her up and have us walk into the office, they had that bowl in the lobby. They had this big bowl and it was full of big, they were Fuji or Crisp or whatever, big apples. And I kept thinking like, it must be someone's job to go up and shine those things every day. I mean, I think they put Armor All or something on them. I mean, it was just beautiful display. And yeah, people would just grab them, heading out the door in the morning or heading up to their room or whatever that might be. This is something that they had. So, this isn't completely made up. Omni prides itself on delivering superior service through the Power of One, a service program that provides associates the training and authority to make decisions that exceed the expectations of guests. The entire culture of the hotel creates a positive, supportive environment that rewards associates through the Omni Service Champions program. As an Omni associate, you're disturbed that the hotel is considering giving up its free apples. You hope that executives will find other ways to cut expenses, such as purchasing food in smaller quantities or reducing the hours of its lobby cafes. All right. You can write this as an email. You don't need to do a letter or anything like that, but you're going to write a persuasive message to Richard Johnson, the Vice President of Operations. And we're encouraged to do this because of the program that they have, right? This Power of One, so that we're not just sounding like an employee who's spouting off. All right. So when you're trying to persuade someone in this case, again, I would start off with some kind of compliment or positive statement. All right. And then you're going to want to build interest and talk about how important service is and all those things that, right, we can do, and how well people think of the apples. And I completely understand it if you were an associate and worked in the hotel and weren't really impacted by that budgetary decision, so to speak. You want them to, you don't want them to get rid of it, because I understand how this works. That you're going to be the one fielding complaints all the time, right? From your guests. And there may be some really valid reasons to keeping them, but this is the one thing you want to keep in mind. If I was the manager making this decision, right, and you're coming to me and saying, hey, Dealey, we really need to keep these apples. The customers love them. It's going to hurt our business. That's all well and good. And you could probably even quantify that. You could probably do some analysis and come up with like, this is how much it means to us. But in the back of my mind, I'm always going to be thinking, hey, you know what, Harris, that's great. I understand that. We still have to cut $15,000 a year from our bottom line. So we better come up with some other way to do it. So kind of keep that in mind. That sometimes happens with emotional arguments like that. Somebody will say, we must do this, or we have to do this. I'm always the pragmatic person. Sadly, this is what happens when you work in accounting and finance and budget. People hate you because you always tell them no. But you're going to have to come up with another way, right, to cut that money. So like I said, some of the things that are talked about in here, they talk about, smaller amounts to save money, or reducing the hours, or if you want to come up with something creative, that's great too. I mean, I had a student once who did this assignment, and I think they said, we're going to plant an apple tree in the lobby, and then we'll just pick them from the tree, and that way we'll save money, or something like that. But again, keeping it fairly simple. So 1021, selling a superfruit, the pitaya. Eric Helms is the founder and CEO of Juice Generation, a chain of juice and smoothie bars in New York City. He bought the exclusive rights to a year's supply of pitaya, a little known softball-sized fruit of a cactus found in Nicaragua. The Vietnamese dragon fruit is the pitaya's Asian cousin. To prevent agricultural pests from entering the United States, only the fruit's frozen pulp may be shipped from Central America. So that's just a little background information, okay? So the pitaya tastes like a cross between strawberries and wheatgrass, and said to contain an antioxidant believed to protect from cancer-causing cells. And then you have some testimonials in there, and things like that. So that taste that it has is a way of building interest, right? You're telling somebody that it tastes really good. It's a way to build interest. What it contains in terms of, antioxidant, vitamin C, that's a way to build someone's interest. All right. Yet even within health food circles, the fruit is still largely unknown. So it's up to you to inform them. All right. The super premium juice business that focuses on healthy exotic nectars, such as pomegranate, and most recently, I can never say this, is it acai? I don't even know. Berry is a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. The big players all have their brand. For example, Odwalla, Naked, and Jamba Juice. Celebrities such as, I don't know why that said that there, but you've got celebrities, right, that are endorsing these products. So those are all kind of ways to help reduce people's resistance. The term superfruit is a marketing term referring to fruit heavy in antioxidants, but without any scientific or regulatory definition. So you need to be really careful with that. You can just say it is believed to contain these things. And then the last line of that paragraph says Palm Wonderful. That was a little weird pomegranate juice. It's kind of shaped like the letter 8, or number 8 rather. They lost a lawsuit to the FTC a number of years ago for advertising that their beverage helps cure cancer, right? Or helps keep you cancer free. And that's not something that can be substantiated. They had to stop doing that. Probably also had to pay a fine. Helms Juice Generation partnered with a factory in Nicaragua that employs only single mothers who scoop and blend the fruit. The women pour the pulp into 3.5-ounce packets that are frozen for shipping. The pink pitaya cocoa blend, a mix of coconut, banana, and pitaya, costs $8.45. You have to give the people what they want, but also what they should be trying. All right. So in this case, what you're going to be doing is you're going to write a sales letter or marketing email promoting the pink pitaya cocoa blend. Your audience in this campaign will probably be gyms, Gyms with in-house juice bars. I keep trying to combine all my words there. Introduce the exotic pitaya plant and explain its benefits. So some of the things that you get here, you can get their attention by talking about, have you heard about this, right? Have you heard about the new pitaya? Da, 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 da. And then talk about what it does, right? Then you get into reducing resistance, because obviously these places are already carrying lots of other products and don't really want to spend the money on something that people don't know about or take up shelf space or whatever it is. You're going to have to reduce some of their resistance with that. So one of the things might be the price. Maybe it's a really excellent price, right? They mention in there the women that are working in the plant. We only employ single moms. I mean, that can be something where you're sort of, calling on something a little bit higher to get someone to buy your product. Like, well, when you buy this product, you help support the single moms that work in our factory. And then, finally, you get into motivating action. One of the things I would tell somebody with this too is, you're trying to sell someone on the product. When you get into motivating action and closing, don't just say, please call me if you have any questions, because if we leave it up to other people, they probably won't do that. You probably want to say something. I would do something like this and say, I will contact you next week so we can get started on your first order, right? And then you're motivating action, or you're going to get rejected, one or the other, but something along those lines. And you may want to offer a discount or something else. Finally, 1023, promoting products or services. This could be anything. Choose something of your own or just another random business. Using suggestions from this chapter, write an appropriate sales message that promotes a product or service. Use actual names, information, and examples. If you have no work experience, imagine a business you would like to start. Word or data processing, pet grooming, detailing, cleaning, whatever, your own business, whatever it might be. Okay. So write a sales letter or email selling your product or service to be distributed to prospective customers. Be sure to tell them how to respond. I usually would tell people, especially if it's an email going out, please email or call. Some people like to call, right? How to do this in Microsoft Word, Google Docs, or a PDF. All right.